All right, what is up, guys? This is Kincade, and it has been less than 24 hours since I bought that 2004 KX250F. I am on my way to go buy another bike. I actually intended to buy this bike yesterday in the same trip as the KX250F, but the guy messaged me last minute, said someone offered him more money than I did, and he was gonna take that guy's offer. So I figured it was a done deal and that bike was out of the question. But then he texted me last night and said that guy backed out. So the bike we are going to take a look at is a 2006 Suzuki RMZ 450. The guy threw it up on Craigslist for $1,000, said it doesn't run, and the ad said motivated to sell. So I messaged him and I offered him $800 and he said he would take it. Obviously I will need to see what this bike looks like in person, but from the photos it looks relatively clean. So this one should be an easy flip, fingers crossed. Luckily, this one is located in Manhattan, Montana, which is only about 20 minutes from me. It's nice when these are a quick drive instead of having to drive halfway across the state or even further. So with all this being said, if all goes well, the next time you'll see me is with a Suzuki RMZ 450 in the back of my truck. Add one more to the collection. Well, here she is. Really not in too bad a shape. I'm guessing these are original plastics, considering it has these graphics and everything, unless somebody went through the trouble to replace them. So that's usually a pretty good sign of how a bike's been treated, if the plastics are in this good a shape after that long. He also said that they already cleaned the carb and that didn't do the trick. So my best guess is that the valves are out of spec. I did check the coolant level and it's low or empty. So I'm gonna put some coolant in it. I'm gonna make sure there's oil in it, and then I'm gonna give it a few good kicks. I really didn't try too hard when I was checking it out, but I do wanna see if I can get it started before doing anything. Got the good old 50/50 AutoZone mix. I've never put anything more expensive than this in a dirt bike, and I've never blown anything up. So I'm okay with the $10 AutoZone coolant. Yep, definitely wasn't empty, was just a little low. I've ruined too many shoes kicking 450s. All right, it's not gonna start. It's got super low compression. Even when I cycle it and feel like I'm at top dead center, there's not a whole lot of resistance like there should be on a 450. So it might need a top end, might need valves adjusted. I think valve clearance and making sure that timing is correct is going to be the first place to look. Well, it's a good thing the bike didn't somehow start, because whoever reinstalled this cam chain tensioner did a horrible job and has no tension on the cam chain. So obviously that explains the lack of compression. So we'll get this sorted out and measure valve clearances and see where we're at. All right, so with the help of this block of wood, we are holding the crank at top dead center. Not sure if you'll be able to see this or not, but there's a line right there. It's supposed to align with these timing marks. There's two of them, and it's the second one. When you're lined up there, that is top dead center. And to make sure we're on the right stroke, I will tap gently with a screwdriver, and the top of the piston is right there. So we are at top dead center. So correct timing on this, if you can see, there's a dot on the top of this sprocket and on the left side of this sprocket. Try and zoom in. And on this one, we have the same thing. A dot on the top and on the left, 90 degrees apart on both sprockets. For timing to be correct, this one's supposed to be as it is, except for perfectly perpendicular to the head. And this one is supposed to be rotated 90 degrees clockwise. So that's how far off the timing is right now. Where the hell did my wrench go? All right, I've got this top end buttoned back up. I have the timing marks correct for both exhaust and intake, and I'm at top dead center. And this time I tensioned this quite a bit more. So instead of there being a little bit of movement, the chain is very tight and difficult to move. So now I'm gonna do the couple cycles and see if we maintain timing or not. After cycling the engine through a couple times, our timing is still correct. So now we are sitting at top dead center with correct timing, so I'll measure the valve clearance. Here we can fit a 0.15 in both with no problems. Here is a 0.25 to try under the exhaust lobes. All right, now for a 0.28, 0.30, 0.33. I really hope this doesn't fit. Ooh, fits incredibly tightly and fits incredibly tightly. So our exhausts are off by quite a bit. We measured 0.33 millimeters on both of these, so they're both 0.1 millimeter off, whereas their intake are just barely too high a clearance. So this is the part where it gets fun. I get to take all this back off, detension the chain again, pull the buckets, and measure the shims. Here we go. This is completely stripped. So I just went and got a helicoil tool. I have actually never used one of these, but this is definitely the solution for something like this. This is not the first time I've seen this happen. One happened on my old KTM 350, and at that time I had actually had my bike with a mechanic, and he helicoiled this. But that is going to be the solution there. All right, so although I've never used one of these, I think it's straightforward enough. This is an M6, so it wants me to use a 1/4 inch drill bit. So I am going to drill this out, and then I'm going to tap it, and then using their tool and a helicoil, I am going to install the helicoil so that we once again have threads and can reinstall the valve cover. Let's do it. Tapping went nice and smoothly. Didn't actually need to drill it because all the threads were already gone. The helicoil just slides onto this tool, and then you move this adjuster. I am going to apply red Loctite to this because it's obviously a pretty important helicoil that we hope will last forever. So there's no reason to give it any possible way to get out. And this red Loctite is some heavy duty stuff. And then we just take this and we thread it in. Nice and easy. Make sure it's going in straight. So right there we met the surface, so we'll go 1/4, half turn. And there we go, we have threads again. All right, and then the last step is to remove this tang where it says to just put it perpendicular in and then just give it a whap. There goes the tang. Would you look at that? I think we're in business. I really don't know why I haven't used helicoils before. That was honestly super easy. So for my intakes, the ideal range is 0.15 to 0.20. I measured 0.21 on both of them. So we're gonna shoot for 0.18, which is gonna be increasing the shim size to decrease the clearance by 0.03 millimeters. Now, the exhaust is supposed to be 0.17 to 0.23 millimeters, and on both I measured 0.33, so we're pretty far off on the exhaust side. So we're going to increase the shim size by 0.133 millimeters to decrease the clearance to 0.20, which is right in the middle of that. All right, we got our micrometer set up. Let's go ahead and start with the right intake valve. Measures 2.55. I will go ahead and measure the rest of these and get the appropriate shims out. All right, I got the new shim selected from my Hot Cam shim kit. I'm going to reinstall them and then get the top end put back together and see how our clearances are looking. All right, what I am going to do, since I have one good bolt and one bad one, is use the good one in the helicoiled threads. In order to not damage the good threads, I'm just gonna use another bolt with the same thread pattern, put a washer on it and this rubber piece for now, and then I will replace this with another OEM one. Yeah, I think that'll get it done. And perfect, threads right in. All right, two good news items. One, we have spark, and two, oh, we have compression. I think cycling it right now with no spark plug is more difficult than it was to cycle it before with the spark plug. It's gonna start. I already turned the gas on and give it a little choke and see if she goes. Oh. Come on, baby. Well, runs like shit, but it runs. That's progress. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? So I just was adjusting the throttle stop screw a little bit, which is just the idle screw, and got it to idle. As you can see, when I twisted the throttle, it hung, and that is because these throttle cables are seriously misadjusted. That's my fault. And this tube is also probably sticking. I already ordered new grips and a new throttle tube, and I just need to get these cables adjusted. But man, that's exciting. For only being $800 into this bike and it really not needing a whole lot, I figured instead of me fiddling with jetting and taking this carb on and off a bunch of times, I figured why not just spend the 80 bucks, get the JD Jet Kit, know that I have it jetted right for this elevation. This will have to come back off. I'll be replacing that bolt, and then I will actually be sealing this. I didn't want to worry about using sealant yet because I didn't know if the bike was going to run or not. I know so far I've only seen this bike idle in my garage, but with what I'm seeing and what's left to do, I think this is gonna be a pretty quick turnaround and a really good money maker. I think I'm gonna be in just over $1,000 on this bike. So aside from that, I ordered 2014 RMZ front fender and number plate, both in yellow, to restyle it, make this bike look a little better. And then I also ordered a new fender and then yellow side panels. So going all yellow on the bike. And now in the meantime, while waiting for parts, can go ahead and work on a few things. Gonna get this pipe polished up. Gonna remove the header again too and polish it up, make it look real nice. And then I'll just go over the frame, swing arm, and wheels and polish those up as well. Hey, not too bad for a 15-year-old exhaust, huh? Man, this is just gonna make the bike look so much better. Really happy with how these polished out. These Pryme MX pads are just unbelievable. Check out the difference in literally 2 minutes of applying polish. Here is the left side of the frame, and here is the right side of the frame. All right, the first set of RMZ parts has arrived from Rocky Mountain. We've got an oil filter so that we can actually change the oil, new levers, that valve cover bolt, as well as the JD Jet kit. So everything we need right here to hopefully get the bike running nice and crisp. All right, I've got the subframe back off and the carb accessible so that we can get to the needle and then rotate it and get to the main jet. I've got the JD Jet kit open, and based on the instructions, for the altitude, I'm gonna use a 175 main jet and the red needle in clip position number 5. Bozeman's at about 5,000 feet. We do a lot of riding over 6,000 feet, but I think this is still gonna be the move. All right, we've got our needle in clip position 5. So the stock needle was on the 3rd clip position, and the JD Jet needle has a different taper, but is going to be on the 5th clip position. So obviously that's a big difference. So we'll drop the new needle in there. There we go. New needle is in. I gotta say, this is so much easier on a 4-stroke than a 2-stroke because you don't have to worry about the throttle spring. Now time to replace the main jet. We've got a 6 mil on this main jet. Go ahead and thread that right out. And as it turns out, we were running a 175, but we'll go ahead and replace it with the new one anyhow. Well, there definitely wasn't a ton of oil, and it's definitely very dirty, but at least there was oil. I already got the oil filter swapped out. I poured a little bit of fresh oil in before installing the drain bolt just to let a little bit more flush out. I did not run the bike beforehand because I figured I didn't really want to run it any more than I had already without doing an oil change. So obviously the oil is a little slow to drain since it's cold. We have an adjustable fuel screw, since it's really hard to get to on the bottom of that carb, and this should be easily adjustable by hand. All right, I just adjusted the fuel screw to 2 1/4 turns out as the JD Jet Kit says to. All right, we got some more RMZ parts in the mail. We have a front number plate and a front fender. These are from a 2014 RMZ, and they should fit with just a little bit of drilling on the front fender. Got a new pre-oiled no-toil air filter, throttle tube, levers, fresh grips, and then side panels. Now the only other thing I'm waiting on that I just ordered today is a new exhaust connector. This thing is completely mangled and I could not get the pipe together, and now I've got a real bad exhaust leak. The bike does run, but you can feel the air coming out of here and then it'll die pretty quickly. So I ordered a new piece of what this is supposed to be, but man, this one is just mangled. So wait on that to get the bike running good, but we can do all the rest right now. All right, here you can see the difference in the 2006 front fender and the 2014 front fender. So I can't really stack these because of this odd shape to just match up the holes. So I will just measure the distance from here to here and then mark those same holes here. And this fender will bolt right on. This extra height does not get in the way, it clears no problem. And then the new front number plate should fit just fine as well. All right, I got my holes measured. These are kind of tricky because they're right on the angle. So we're gonna start with a kind of small bit and then work our way up. All right, pretty much spot on with my holes on the front. They're almost symmetrical. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. One went right through. Man, it is amazing what a newer front fender and number plate will do to a bike. This thing, I mean, obviously it's missing the rest of it, but man, it just looks so much cleaner and newer. But anyway, this worked really well. Those holes were not too difficult. I reused the original hardware, so these washers just hang over a bit there, but it's all tight, sturdy, and the number plate bolted right up, fit on the stock triple clamp mount. So super easy conversion if you want to make an RMZ look a little bit newer. All right, check out the RMZ. I am very happy with how this bike is looking. For a very minimal amount of money spent, I think I am just gonna leave the original rear fender and shrouds. I got them cleaned up pretty nicely. These were pretty nasty. I just used a bunch of SC1 and plastic cleaner and buffed them out real nice. And I don't think the contrast is too bad between the new plastics and the old. I got the seat cleaned up as well. So, oh, and some nice tire shine on the tires to make the older tires look a little nicer. Overall, I think this bike is looking great. Alrighty, the new exhaust connector piece for the RMZ finally came. Looks nothing like the old piece that came out of the pipe. But as it turns out, our header is a little bit oval shaped and it doesn't want to slide on, so we're gonna have to slap this thing in the vise with a little precision here. And there we go, got it on. I'm gonna coat the inside of that with some RTV, the outside of the header with some RTV sealant, and slide it on so that we have a nice clean seal. So when I say RTV, this is all that I use for exhaust, just high temp gasket maker. It also won't fit into the muffler, so we're gonna have to bend each of these 4 muffler tabs out a little bit. Also, I believe I already talked about how this valve cover bolt is an M7 when the other good one in there was an M6 and the threads are M6s, and I helicoiled an M6, so we have a little bit of a problem. I've never tried anything like this, but I'm going to see if it's possible to cut these threads down to an M6 using a tap and die set. All right, so just verifying with a nut that matches the threads of the bolt we're using. We have an M6 by 1.0, so we are gonna try and cut these threads to match this. Gonna dab a little bit of thread cutting oil on these so that we keep our tools nice and sharp moving forward. That thing is looking mint. Beautiful thread cut. Before I get too far ahead of myself, hey, let's go. No joke. And this is why I kick 450s in boots. RIP shoes. All right guys, I'm pretty happy with where the RMZ 450 is at right now. It's running and idling good with no choke. So that is the state of the RMZ 450. Liam's gonna come look at it later today, and hopefully we'll get this thing sold. With today's market and how crazy it is, if I were listing this on Marketplace, I'd probably be asking 3 grand. Since Liam's a buddy, I'm asking 2,500. I still only have a little under 1,200 into the bike altogether. He is gonna pick it up next week and the RMZ is sold. So guys, that was my 2006 Suzuki RMZ 450 flip. I really hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts on this flip in the comment section below. If you could leave me a like rating, that would be awesome. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I will be posting more content on lots of builds and other fun stuff. Thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you guys soon with another video.